Welcome back to our channel, where we honor the unforgettable legacies of those we've lost. Cancer has taken the lives of many remarkable American female celebrities, but their strength, talent, and influence continue to inspire us. In this tribute, we remember the stories of these extraordinary women who left us too soon but will never be forgotten. Sharon Jones was a force of nature, a woman whose voice could shake the walls and stir souls. But her life was tragically cut short by pancreatic cancer on November 18, 2016, at just 60 years old. She had spent years fighting her way into the music industry, overcoming countless rejections for being too short, too old, too black, yet she never stopped pushing forward. But her biggest battle came in 2013 when she was diagnosed with bile duct cancer, later corrected to stage 2 pancreatic cancer. The fight was brutal. She underwent surgery, rounds of chemotherapy, and lost her hair. But she refused to let it break her spirit, performing bald, standing tall in front of her fans. Just when it seemed like she might win, the cancer returned in 2015, and she found herself back in the ring, battling with everything she had. Then, in November 2016, as the US election results unfolded, she suffered a stroke. The next day, another one. Even in her hospital bed, she joked that Donald Trump's victory had done it to her. But her body was giving out. Her final days were spent surrounded by loved ones, her Dap Kings bandmates by her side, holding her hand, playing her favorite songs, as her mighty voice slowly faded into silence. Her story was one of grit and resilience, a testament to a woman who refused to be sidelined. Born in Augusta, Georgia, in 1956, she was raised in Brooklyn, New York, where she dreamed of making music but had to take jobs as a prison guard and an armored truck driver just to survive. She sang at weddings, church choirs, and local bands, but the industry doors never opened. That was until she got a break in 1996, recording backup vocals for Lee Fields, leading her to the Dap Kings, the band that would finally give her the stage she deserved. In 2002, at 46, she released her first album, decades after most artists get their shot. Her voice, raw and electric, channeled the spirit of James Brown, Aretha Franklin, and every great soul singer before her. She gave the world 6 albums, electrifying performances, a Grammy nomination, and a legacy that would forever redefine modern soul music. She was a warrior on stage, a whirlwind of energy, a woman who defied expectations at every turn. Even as her body failed her, she kept performing, pushing through the pain, unwilling to let cancer steal her light. Sharon Jones didn't just sing, she roared, and though she is gone, her voice will never be silenced. Jackie Collins, the trailblazing novelist known for her steamy, scandal-filled books that captivated millions, spent her final years hiding a heartbreaking secret, her battle with stage 4 breast cancer. Diagnosed more than 6 years before her passing, she chose to fight in silence, refusing to let her illness define her. Even in her last days, she remained the glamorous, fearless woman the world knew her as. Just 9 days before she died, she flew from Los Angeles to London for an appearance on the ITV talk show Loose Women, smiling and charming the audience without a hint of the pain she carried. Only 2 weeks before her death, she finally revealed the truth to her beloved sister, actress Joan Collins, keeping even those closest to her in the dark to protect them from worry. She passed away on September 19, 2015, at the age of 77, leaving behind a legacy of groundbreaking novels and a life story just as bold as the characters she wrote. Born on October 4, 1937, in London, Jackie was the rebellious younger sister of Joan, destined to make her own mark. Expelled from school at 15, she dabbled in acting but quickly found her true calling in writing. Her debut novel, The World is Full of Married Men, was so scandalous it was banned in some countries, yet it launched a literary empire that would sell over 500 million copies worldwide. Her books, filled with powerful women, ruthless men, and Hollywood excess, were more than just fiction. They were a window into a world she knew well, having mingled with the biggest names in entertainment. She built an empire, fearlessly challenging societal norms and empowering women through her storytelling. But behind the success, she faced immense personal loss. Her first husband, Wallace Austin, struggled with addiction and died of an overdose. Her second husband, Oscar Lehrman, passed from cancer, and her fiance, Frank Colcognini, succumbed to a brain tumor. Through it all, Jackie remained resilient, choosing to celebrate life rather than dwell on tragedy. Even in her final moments, she embodied strength, refusing to let cancer steal her spirit. She left this world on her own terms, not as a victim, but as a woman who lived fiercely, loved deeply, and wrote stories that would outlive her. Jackie Collins wasn't just a writer. She was a force of nature. And though she may be gone, her words, her characters, and her fearless legacy will never fade. N.B. Davis, the beloved actress known for her role as Alice Nelson in The Brady Bunch, passed away on June 1, 2014, at the age of 88, leaving behind a legacy of warmth, humor, and unforgettable television moments. Her death was sudden and heartbreaking. Earlier that day, she fell in the bathroom of her San Antonio home, suffering a subdural hematoma that caused her to lose consciousness. Despite being in good health for her age, she never woke up again, and the news of her passing came as a shock to those who knew her, and had spent her later years devoted to her faith, living in an Episcopal community, far from the Hollywood spotlight. But her journey to becoming America's favorite housekeeper started decades before. Born in Schenectady, New York, on May 3, 1926, and had a twin sister and originally set out to become a doctor, enrolling at the University of Michigan. But after watching her brother perform in Oklahoma, she changed her path and pursued acting instead. That decision led her to Hollywood, where she made a name for herself in The Bob Cummings Show, winning 2 Emmy Awards for her role as Schultz. It was The Brady Bunch that made her a household name, cementing her as the quick-witted, loving Alice, a character that brought joy to millions. Though the show ended in 1974, and remained connected to it, appearing in spin-offs, reunions, and even the Brady Bunch movie in 1995. But in the years that followed, she chose a quieter life, stepping away from show business to focus on her faith and community. Even in her final days, she was surrounded by people who loved her, living a peaceful life away from the chaos of Hollywood. And then, in an instant, it was over. A simple fall, a tragic injury, and the world lost a woman who had brought laughter and love to so many. N.B. Davis wasn't just a TV icon. She was a presence that made people feel at home, a character who was more than just fiction. Though she's gone, her legacy lives on in the hearts of those who grew up watching The Brady Bunch, where Alice's warm smile and sharp wit will never fade. Erin Moran, the bright-eyed actress who once lit up television screens as Joni Cunningham on Happy Days, passed away far too soon at the age of 56. Her final days were marked by an unimaginable struggle, a quiet battle against stage 4 throat cancer that had taken hold of her body without warning. It was on April 22, 2017, in the small town of Corydon, Indiana, that authorities found her unresponsive, her life slipping away in heartbreaking silence. The toxicology reports would later confirm there were no illegal substances involved, no tragic missteps, just the merciless grip of an illness that had gone undetected for far too long. Her husband, Stephen Fleischman, revealed in a letter that the signs first appeared around Thanksgiving of 2016, a small sore on her throat that doctors brushed off as nothing serious. But as the months passed, the cancer spread aggressively, tightening its hold, robbing her of speech, of strength, of life itself. Despite seeking medical help, no one realized the extent of the disease until it was too late. The star who had once been America's beloved little sister, the girl with the infectious smile, was fading away, alone in her suffering. Her life had once been filled with promise. Born in Burbank, California, in 1960, she had started acting before she was even 10 years old. Hollywood had embraced her, and when Happy Days premiered in 1974, she became a household name, playing Joni, the spirited and feisty younger sister of Richie Cunningham. The show became a phenomenon, and she shined alongside Ron Howard and Henry Winkler. When Joni Loves Chachi spun off in 1982, it seemed like her career was only beginning. But as the series failed to gain traction, so did her prospects in Hollywood. Struggling with depression and unable to find steady work, she found herself drifting further from the spotlight. Financial hardship followed, and after losing her California home, she relocated to Indiana, where life became an uphill battle. Tabloids painted her as a tragic figure, homeless, drinking, lost, but the reality was far more painful. She was a woman who had given the world joy, only to be forgotten when she needed support the most. When news of her passing broke, the world mourned, her Happy Days co-stars paying tribute, remembering the girl they had once laughed with, the girl who had stolen scenes and hearts. Henry Winkler, who had played the cool and charismatic Fonzie, wrote, "Oh, Erin, now you will finally have the peace you wanted so badly here on Earth." It was a devastating end to a life that had seen both dazzling highs and crushing lows. Hollywood may have left her behind, but for those who grew up watching her, Erin Moran will always be Joni, the girl with the big dreams and even bigger heart. Mary Travers, the voice of a generation and one of folk music's most beloved figures, left the world on September 16, 2009, after a long battle with leukemia. She was 72, and despite the unwavering strength she had always carried in her music and activism, her body succumbed to complications following a bone marrow transplant. Her final days were spent in the hospital in Connecticut, where she fought with the same resilience that had defined her life, but the disease had taken too much from her. It was a cruel ending for a woman whose voice had lifted spirits, protested injustice, and shaped the sound of the 1960s alongside Peter Yarrow and Paul Stuckey in the legendary folk trio Peter, Paul, and Mary. Born in Louisville, Kentucky, in 1936, Mary's family moved to Greenwich Village when she was just 2 years old, placing her in the heart of the folk music revival. Growing up surrounded by activists and musicians, she was drawn to the power of song, and her deep, resonant contralto voice became a defining sound of the era. Peter, Paul, and Mary became a phenomenon, blending harmony with purpose, delivering songs like Blowin' in the Wind and If I Had a Hammer that became anthems for change. With her striking blonde hair and commanding stage presence, Mary was the trio's soul, bringing emotion and conviction to every performance. Their success soared in the 1960s, but as time passed, the music industry shifted, and they disbanded in 1970. Mary pursued a solo career, releasing 5 albums, though the magic of Peter, Paul, and Mary remained unparalleled. In 1978, they reunited, continuing to tour and advocate for justice until her illness took hold. When she was diagnosed with leukemia in 2004, she refused to let it silence her. A bone marrow transplant in 2005 brought hope, and for a while, she seemed to defy the odds, returning to the stage even as she faced relentless treatments. But in the end, the disease proved relentless, and the world lost not just a singer, but a fighter, an activist, and a voice that had carried messages of love, justice, and protest for decades. Her loss was mourned deeply by those who knew her, by those who had been inspired by her music, and by those who had marched to the songs she helped make famous. Mary Travers was more than a folk singer. She was a force, a beacon of courage in tumultuous times, and her absence leaves an emptiness that no melody can fill. But her music lives on, echoing the dreams and struggles of a generation that once believed with her that songs could change the world. Patty Duke, a name that once lit up Hollywood screens, left this world in a way as tragic as it was heartbreaking. On March 29, 2016, at the age of 69, she died from sepsis caused by a ruptured intestine. The pain must have been unbearable, a silent battle within her body that she never saw coming. In the final days of her life, she had been in the hospital in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, the place she had called home for 25 years, with her husband by her side. Her last tweets hinted at her struggles, mentioning an absence, perhaps a sign that she wasn't feeling well, though no one could have imagined the devastating turn her health would take. Her son, Sean Astin, announced her passing with a statement that captured the gravity of the loss. She was a mother, a wife, a grandmother, an advocate, and a legend. Born Anna Marie Duke on December 14, 1946, her childhood was anything but easy. She was pushed into the spotlight by controlling managers who manipulated her, even changing her name and dictating her life. At just 15, she delivered a performance so powerful as Helen Keller in The Miracle Worker that she became the youngest at the time to win an Academy Award. The world saw a bright young star, but behind the scenes, she was struggling. Her early years were riddled with trauma, her mental health already fragile. When The Patty Duke Show came along in 1963, no one knew she had bipolar disorder, not even her. The show's concept of identical cousins mirrored the two sides of her own personality, one wild, one controlled, a painful irony that only became clear years later. As she grew older, her career took her through highs and lows, with standout roles in Valley of the Dolls and Me, Natalie. But her personal life was turbulent: 4 marriages, public affairs, and a desperate search for stability. The turning point came in 1982 when she was finally diagnosed with bipolar disorder, a moment that gave her clarity and purpose. She became one of the first celebrities to openly talk about mental illness, breaking the stigma and helping countless others through her advocacy. But even as she found strength, life never stopped being a challenge. The years of struggle, the battles with addiction, the emotional scars of a childhood stolen from her, everything took a toll. And then, suddenly, she was gone. The news of her death shocked those who admired her resilience, her talent, her fight for mental health awareness. She wasn't just an actress. She was a survivor, a voice for those who felt unheard. The girl who had once been forced into Hollywood's harsh spotlight had left behind a legacy that was bigger than any role she ever played. She was cremated, her ashes interred at Forest Cemetery, but her story remains, a reminder of both the brilliance and the unbearable pain that defined her life. Valerie Harper was a woman who lit up the screen with her humor and warmth, a talent who became a household name as Rhoda Morgenstern on The Mary Tyler Moore Show and its spin-off Rhoda, winning 4 Emmy Awards and cementing herself as a television icon. But beyond the laughter, her life took a heartbreaking turn when she was diagnosed with lung cancer in 2009, a battle that would stretch over a decade and ultimately lead to her tragic passing. In 2013, she was given just 3 months to live after doctors found that the cancer had spread to the fluid surrounding her brain, a rare and devastating condition called leptomeningeal carcinomatosis. Despite the grim prognosis, Valerie refused to give up, undergoing aggressive treatments while continuing to work and inspire millions with her resilience. She defied the odds, surviving 6 more years, each day a testament to her indomitable spirit. But by mid-2019, the disease had taken its toll, her body weakened, the pain relentless, requiring around-the-clock care. Her devoted husband, Tony Cacciatoti, refused to place her in hospice, choosing instead to keep her home, where she could spend her final days surrounded by love. On August 30th, 2019, at the age of 80, Valerie Harper took her last breath in Los Angeles, leaving behind a legacy that stretched far beyond her television career. Born in Suffern, New York, in 1939, she grew up moving from city to city due to her father's work, eventually finding her way to the stage as a dancer before transitioning to acting. Her portrayal of Rhoda, a strong, witty, and deeply relatable woman, made her an icon, particularly for young women struggling to find their place in the world. Despite professional setbacks, being fired from her own show, Valerie, and battling industry politics, she never stopped pushing forward. Her later years were filled with activism, charity work, and an unwavering commitment to making the most of the time she had left. Her funeral at Hollywood Forever Cemetery was a bittersweet celebration of her life, attended by those who loved her, with her daughter Christina delivering a speech that reflected the same strength and humor her mother carried throughout her life. Even in death, Valerie Harper remained an inspiration. Her fight, her laughter, her unwavering optimism in the face of something so cruel. She'd spent years teaching people how to live, and in her final chapter, she taught them how to face the inevitable with dignity, courage, and a heart full of love. They may no longer be with us, but their legacy lives on in the hearts of millions.